I spent the past few weeks asking every accounting colleague I could find what their thoughts on this kind of like kind of how we were feeling last time about like, should I even be sitting for this exam? Like if this, if this is what I'm walking into. Um, and I got lots of good feedback, and it was all positive. It was like, yes, you still should. So we can talk about that today.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm hoping, people can share maybe what they've tried so far with AI or what questions they have, and we can all kind of talk about different AI things. And one, we could also talk about like security with AI, because that's a big question. Is like, can we dump tax returns in there, or that kind of stuff.
You kind of
Before,
can't, right? Like personal, like proprietary information, unless it's on, like, if obviously if you have your own server and your own, like, I don't know the technological language, but like for most of us who are using like Claude or using whatever, you technically should not, correct?
So it's like nobody wants to just say like you can, because I think nobody wants to be the one liable for that. Um, but I think you can. So if certain guardrails are put in place, then there is a strong argument for it not being any different than using any other software that has, an AI tool associated with it. So like a lot of the practice management softwares, like even QuickBooks, trying to think of some others that you might be using, but like they all have like an AI integration at this point. So if you are on one of the paid, like the higher paid teams plans, the ones that are like more like $100 a month, like enterprise or teams, it automatically does not use your data for training. So that's like the first step, is make sure you have that, and they're SOC 2 certified and everything. So it's just as secure. I mean, we have clients who are sending us things with, in email attachments and Adobe, even like Adobe PDFs. When you open it, there's AI
That is
tools.
so real. Like photos from your iPhone of your
Yeah,
W-2.
exactly. Those, what is it? The HEIC files, those like really impossible ones that are like iPhone files or something, pictures. Terrible. Yeah. So I think if you have like a policy in your engagement letter and a WISP, I don't know if you guys have talked about WISPs yet, but like what your kind of security policies are in your firm. You've written that down and documented it, and you've taken all the appropriate measures to make sure that you're signed up for the SOC 2 certified version, and it's not using the data for training purposes, and you've toggled that. There's like a few settings in there, and you can even ask Claude, what are the settings I need to set to make sure that um, then I think it is okay. One thing that of course, the more you could minimize the sensitive information going in, the better, because why not? If it's relatively low effort. So um, what I'm seeing people doing is figuring out how to properly and efficiently redact certain things before they drop them in. So like, name, social security number, address, or something, or just social security number even. Just seeing what redaction tools you can use. Now, by putting just like a black redaction thing in Adobe on top, I think like the metadata, like it's still actually in the document, what like Claude can see it. So you want to like get that right. But the dream would be that like you have some sort of thing that you're inputting your documents into to kind of scrape away all the sensitive information, and then you can dump it like into Claude, like pretty much automatically, like that flow. So I know one of my colleagues was just asking Claude, well, can you make me a redaction tool? And she was working on that with it, and I think it worked. So it's kind of like depends on your risk appetite, but um, some of the big tax AI enthusiasts are just like why is this any different than any of the other AI tools that already are accessing our client information? And they're kind of convinced that like some of the big like tech companies or big companies are trying to kind of like scare us so that we'll still like use their software and stuff. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, I think there's a lot of like practice management type things that you could be using it for, just to organize yourself, or put kind of more like financials that aren't as sensitive in for like a business client, and have it summarized, give some business consulting kind of advice, things like that. Or just take like a really crazy mess of data and put it into something, or put it into an organized something or other, whatever you're looking for. But a really convenient thing would be if you could dump that tax return in and get a checklist immediately that you could then give your client of what documents you need, and then dump all those documents in and have it organize them into beautiful work papers, and then maybe dump the completed tax return in and have it do like a first pass review, and then maybe dump the tax return in for like a one-page summary, like in layman's terms for the client, so they understand what happened on that tax return. I mean, there's some really amazing things that we could start doing, when we have that kind of confidence in it. And I mean, I don't know. So take that however you want. I know firms are just going all in and not caring because of those guardrails that they put in place. They feel like they can. The other thing is like some accountants are using like they're using Claude to build like script that will just kind of work in their client folders, and that's not really AI touching it, it's like script touching it. So there are kind of like non-AI workarounds where like the client information wouldn't actually be going anywhere. But like if you have any sort of like cloud-based document management software for your client data, like it's already in the cloud, like, so I don't know. If I don't own a firm anymore, if I was still doing taxes, I would maybe try to redact some things, but I would be really tempted to make my life easier with these tools. And that kind of leads into talking about what about our careers coming in at entry level? Like, is there even going to be a job for us? And I think it's just I actually even put this on Twitter, like, guys, I have these EAs I'm, meeting with, what should I tell them about this? And, all these like CPAs and EAs who own their own practices all responded there and said, no, the only difference now is that you have like an immediate promotion. Like you're not going to come in as an entry level, basic tax preparer, because you now have a software tool that you can ask anything to and get answers to help you when you're stuck. So you just have like a bigger brain now that you're coming in with, that you can use to ask any question you want, and have a second set of eyes on what you're doing. So you can just take on more advanced stuff quicker, and you can start performing at like a higher level quicker, and have a lot more capacity because you'll probably be able to produce returns a lot faster. So you can take on more clients. It's going to take a long time for clients to no longer want a professional to do their taxes. And, like, I don't think we're going to see, there's always been tools like TurboTax and things that people could have gone to. And there's a reason why people haven't, so I think it's kind of like, it is a time to be innovative and creative and think of, what other problems can you solve in these taxpayers' lives? What other, angles can you be helping them with? Like, sometimes clients want to know if you do like personal budgeting and can help them with their personal finances. And it's like, yeah, maybe if I can throw that into Claude, sure, I can help you with that too. Like maybe you'll add some extra services on. But yeah, I think there are more positives than negatives for us, career wise with these tools.
I do think it's, and this is just like, again, like my personal feelings, but when you have the bank of knowledge that's deeper, like someone like you, because these are tools, right? So it's
Yeah.
like having a mechanical tool do something and being able to supervise it and say, hey, I know this is wonky because I actually know what it's doing,
Exactly.
versus people who are just inputting data and trusting whatever gets spit out because we don't have the depth of knowledge. I think that's where some of like the
Yes.
nerves come from. It's not that the AI tools are bad. It's that when, it's like managing a practice
Yeah.
with a
Yes.
bunch of people doing taxes for you. And if you have no fucking idea how to do taxes, obviously your management is not going to
Yes.
be as effective.
Exactly.
That's
And
where some
that's
of
why
the
you still need to sit
skepticism
for these
comes from.
exams. Yeah. Yeah, that's why you still need to study and sit for these exams, because you need to have that foundational context, right? Of what this is all about, so that you know what to look for. And you're gonna sit there and look at a tax return and say, oh yeah, I remember this was one of the questions on the exam, and you'll know things. And I think that's a great point you brought up, that really these tools, these AI tools are just as if you had other employees on your team. And so there's still a place for you, but you're just going to be able to delegate a lot more, or ask a senior like a question, or have a senior review your work, things like that. But you still have to exist to do all of that. And you have to have the context to know if what you're looking at makes sense or not. And that's why we got to study and pass these exams, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Also, just multiple choice exams.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even, I passed my first exam and I did pretty well in it, but it's that, and then actually looking at like the concrete execution of the information when there aren't an A, B, C, and D, and it's
Yeah.
like a very different situation.
Yeah, but like having the context of just like the gist of these topics, like your brain kind of clicks into place once you're like, wait, I learned about this. I know something about this. Let me ask Claude's one thing to kind of just refresh that piece. I know there's a number that changes every year that it's like you have the right foundational pieces in place, that this is going to really like fast track your career, I think. Like I just remember being a staff accountant in the tax department at a big firm, and I wanted to ask like the my like, the senior accountant like questions about things, and I just like didn't feel comfortable. Like they would get mad if we asked them things, like, like they would be like, did you open up your tax book and research it first? And it's like, now you don't have to do that. So I think it kind of gives you a superpower. Bridget, are you already preparing tax returns? Tell me about like where you're at with your career and where you are going.
That's a great question. I mean, this was my first season preparing
Okay.
returns, like as part of the apprenticeship.
Yep.
I've been a hairstylist in New York City for the last 11 years.
Cool.
So, and I frankly didn't even get into this because I was like, I want a career change. Like, I was doing so much self study because I just genuinely, I mean, business structures and like, it's like, it's so universally applicable, right? And like something that knowing even a way more than basic amount of is like most people don't ever learn it. And I just thought it was really interesting. I obviously have a creative job where I work with my hands, so it's easy to fetishize like sitting at a computer and like absorbing information if we're keeping it a buck. So
Yeah.
I saw this program and I was just like, oh, if I'm doing all this self study, and I was
Mhm.
already studying for the EA once I saw this. So I was like, oh, to have like a cohort and to also have like professionals who are really knowledgeable
Yeah.
to learn from, like, I don't know exactly what my point is yet,
Yeah.
to
That's
be
okay.
real. I don't know if sitting behind a computer doing tax returns is like fitting to like my personality and my like desires, but learning the information is extremely valuable and interesting to me. And I just think that like you see so many business people make mistakes, and like as I get further in my career too and get closer to like, I mean, essentially like running my own business anyway, I'm just like, this is a pretty like it's
Yeah.
not like it's, $80,000 a year like college tuition. It's truly an
Right.
excellent learning experience to learn from like all these professionals and, to talk to someone like you or Micah or like Yehuda or I mean, there have been so many great iconic tax Twitter people too. We've
Yes.
gotten to like gain their knowledge. So I think I'm kind of just sniffing through the information and I'll probably know better by the end of the year, like what direction I want
I
to go
love
in with
that.
that. But I'm just learning it up.
That's great. And yeah, and you'll just see where it takes you. And maybe you'll become like, the hairstylist tax pro or whatever. And,
Totally. There's
just
definitely a market for that or like independent
yes,
content creators or like a lot of
yes,
my clients even
yes.
now are people who are like independent
And
creators
yes.
and
And you've already built the trust with
they're
them.
like, just let me know
Yeah.
when you want new clients because we'll come and see you. But like, I don't feel like I'm at the knowledge level yet, really, where I'm comfortable doing that. So
Yeah, and maybe AI is what's gonna help you feel like gonna give you that confidence sooner, because I think I know tax pros who have been doing this for like 30 years and they still feel that way because the tax code is big and changing and it's really hard to finally say, okay, yes, I feel confident and I can do this. So to have better research tools available, I feel like you could do like hair and taxes, like get them both done at the same time and just be in and out. Like it would be amazing.
Lord help us all.
I mean,
But yeah, no, I do. I think also just it's true that like even of online people who are popular, CPAs, EAs, like the same question gets asked and like people do have different answers and
yeah,
like it's kind of overwhelming in that way because
yeah,
you're like this is such a concrete like if when someone gets a lien put on them or like gets a letter from the IRS a few years down the road because someone doesn't like something that you did, the stakes feel really high,
yes.
but there's so much more gray area than you would think. It's like you learn the rules and you use the rules, and actually different professionals who have been in the industry for so long use the rules differently, and I think that's an interesting thing to observe.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with like risk appetite and what different people are comfortable with, when it comes to how literal they want to take the tax code. And, yeah, you're right. There's not going to ever just be like one answer. Sometimes I'll ask like a bunch of accountants the same question just to see. And it's like everyone has a different answer. And that actually makes me feel better because it means that like nobody is this genius. Like we're humans and it's a complex thing. So yeah,
Can I ask you a question about your like trajectory?
sure.
How long did you do like I know you said you worked for like a larger firm, like
Yep.
how long did you do taxes and what sort of inspired or made you want to seg out of doing taxes and get into more of like the business and education side of things?
Great question. So I started my career as a middle school math teacher, and I lasted 2 years and felt like there had to be something else out there for me. And like long story short, I started helping a couple friends who like had booths at like a local farmers market, like just helping them in QuickBooks, like with their bookkeeping. And I didn't even know what QuickBooks was. And I bought like bookkeeping for dummies and just like read it to try to figure out like how to help them. And I
Oh my
like
god,
charged,
throwback for
right?
dummies.
Yellow book, right?
Love
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. So like I would charge them like $5 an hour because I was just learning. I told them I'm gonna absolutely mess this up, but they were like, better you than me. Like these were all creatives and I was more of a math brain. So I started doing that. And then eventually like some CPAs who were doing the tax returns for these people reached out to me to be like, what are you doing to these people's books? Like you don't, like we need to teach you some things. Like you should come work for me and you should learn like so they started kind of like taking me under their wing and showing me like the things that that the yellow book didn't explain, and like helping me learn from my mistakes. So it was really bookkeeping that was like my start at it. And I ended up opening up a little like book of business of maybe like 11 bookkeeping clients that I did monthly bookkeeping work for, and like sales tax and payroll, and kept taking like part-time jobs at different accounting firms to kind of get classically trained on it as well, and have them review certain things, like just kind of trying to balance starting my own thing with also learning the right way. But like some of these like older accountants I worked for, they were doing things like really like having me like type in manually like transactions when I knew there was like a bank feed you could sync in. Like, so it was kind of like I was kind of tech savvy, and they had the technical knowledge, and so I was able to kind of pull from both of those and kind of move up quickly. And then I realized like I could do the bookkeeping, but not the tax. And I thought, man, I really want to learn the tax side of things, because I'm losing money on like not being able to do the full picture for them and having to find them an accountant to do the tax side. So one of the accountants I was working under said, look, you're young, you're single, you don't have kids, like go sit for the CPA exam and just get it done. Like, but before too much time goes by. And I didn't have any of the prerequisites to sit for the exam. I had to actually take more undergrad classes than graduate level classes, like, because I had no business classes or anything. So I had to take a ton of school. I did it really fast to get it done, sat for the 4 CPA exams, and then started working in the tax department at a big firm. And I still kept my little bookkeeping book of business on the side, but they had me do the tax returns for my bookkeeping clients to help me learn how to do them. And eventually the day job got in the way of my side hustle, and that's how I knew it was time to go. And I still didn't feel comfortable doing taxes like on my own without someone reviewing it. I don't know that you ever feel ready, but I really felt like, man, is this even responsible? Like, I've only been doing this a couple years. Like,
That's
there's
comforting to
so
hear.
much to learn. But what I did was, one of my colleagues at the big firm who had a few more years of experience than I did, but I felt really comfortable with her, I asked her, can I just pay you like an hourly rate to just like ask you questions once a week? And so we met once a week virtually, and I made like a bulleted list throughout the week of the questions I had, and showed her screenshots or shared my screen to show her my tax software. And she just like helped me. And that made it like, it almost felt like I had like a supervisor or something. She didn't review every single return, but the ones that I felt like needed her review, she did review. And she didn't always know the answer. Sometimes she had to look it up, or we both had to ask another colleague or something. So, I was pleasantly surprised that like even she didn't know everything. And she was so smart. I was so shocked that she didn't know the answer to every single question. But then word of mouth gets around, and then more and more people start coming your way. And the business grew, and eventually I had an office and 6 employees, and like it was a lot. And ultimately I ended up starting to have kids, and had 2 back to back. And they're 3 and 4 now, and it was just really hard to manage the babies and the business. And I was doing a lot of like business coaching for accounting firm owners, like on the side, and enjoying that. So I guess I started another side hustle. And I realized that like for this season of life, having a low responsibility, low liability job makes sense for me. And so I don't know if I'll go back into, helping, taxpayers eventually, but right now I'm helping other people help them. And that feels like a better fit for me right now. But I have all the context of what it's like to do that stuff. So I can like speak the language with the accounting firm owners that I help, which has been great. But yeah, there's a lot of different paths you can take once you have, the credentials, I feel like,
Well,
even without.
thank you for
Yeah.
that answer. I mean, I think we see it with Micah too, right? Where like he's our sensei, if you will, and like
Yeah.
he'll pull up something during office hours and be like, "Oh, just kidding. I have no clue what I'm talking about. Let's go look it up." And I'm just starting to see that that's like part of, because there's so much ambiguity and so
Yes.
many like different ways to interpret things, that's just like a normal thing, and it doesn't mean you have no clue like what
No.
you're doing. So
And our industry is one of the most common industries for imposter syndrome, because, like I keep saying, the tax code is so darn big and ever changing that we all have this like kind of uncomfortable, lingering feeling of like, do I really know what I'm doing? And that unfortunately doesn't really go away. It might just kind of like soften a little, but like none of us know all the answers, and it's kind of nice to end up picking like a specialty and just really honing in on that so that you don't have to worry about like feeling the pressure to learn everything. But yeah, I think it's great when like a mentor, you see them asking like this, researching something, and one of the partners at the big firm I worked for said like, you should always be comfortable saying to a client like, I'm not sure. I'm going to check on that and get back to you. Like that. And I thought like, no, I can't let them know that I don't know something. Then they're not going to, want me to be their accountant. But they completely respect that. They don't want to be the ones to go look it up. They don't have the context that you have. You'll find the answer a lot faster than they will and have more confidence in the answer than they will. So the goal here is not to know all of it. It's to know how to find the answers when you don't know. That's what makes a good tax preparer, I think, is just knowing where to go to find the answer when you have no clue. Yeah, and like part of this too is like you don't want to have so much imposter syndrome that you start not charging like for your worth because you feel like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, I shouldn't charge a lot. And it can become like a slippery slope of not taking care of yourself and of your business because of your confidence. So try to let that go early on, that like none of us know what we're doing, the tax code's crazy.
I actually wrote most of an article that I have to finish for our tax cohort about this, because every speaker that comes and talks to us says the same. And like, I learned this, right? It's like, I'm not an expert tax preparer, but I am like an expert hairstylist and colorist. And I do like high level work, and like up market, the most competitive market in the country. And like, it is all the same. It's like the client who's like, if it's free, it's for me. Like, they're never going to become, it's like, there's so many things that are just between industries.
Yes.
It's the same sort of thing. It's like, don't be afraid to like fire bad clients. Like, initially you're going to have to say yes to things you're
Yeah.
not confident with, but once you gain experience, like, don't feel like you have to say yes to everything, because you're going to torture yourself. And
Yeah.
like,
That was
look at
me.
the 5% of people who are torturing you 95% the most, and just be like,
Yes.
it ain't worth it.
Yeah, I definitely took any client that could fog a mirror was my client. Like if they were alive, I would take them. And it was stuff that I had no clue how to do. And that caused me a lot of anxiety. But then, being exposed to all those different things and being responsible and asking for help when I needed it from colleagues, um, helped me figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And then slowly I would kind of drop the clients that weren't in the niche that I wanted to be in. It's a process for sure. Ronnie.
Kind of off topic, but on topic. So I'm
Yeah.
like calls now for people asking me about tax. Obviously, they're extremely late, but it's like they'll call me in the middle of me doing something, and if I don't like tend to them like at that moment, I lose the lead. Like, any recommendations to how I could like get their information and then follow up versus them trying to
Yeah.
like, press me? Because like now I just this morning I'm virtual, but my address is like kind of online. And this
Hmm.
lady's like, "Hey, I'm outside." I'm like, "I have no idea who you are." And then she got so turned off. I was like, "We do things virtually, but it's on Google, so they have the address." But like, any ideas on how I can like
Yes.
get that lead
Yes.
to
Do
chill?
you have yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of like kind of practice management thing, like boundaries and things that we have to figure out on top of learning all the tax code. Um, do you have a website?
Yes, I have a website, but I just got on my Google page finally like going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like people are starting tons of
Yep.
spam, but
Yep. Yeah. So on your website, is there like a fillable like intake form? Like if you're a new client, fill out this form.
um Yeah, it's more like a contact form, but
Okay.
I guess maybe I should make it more.
Yeah, so you want to expand that contact form to have more fields. And what I recommend doing is picking like 5 tax pros that you've heard of and go look at their websites and steal the questions that they have on theirs. This is kind of like the industry standard now of how to
I
funnel.
just dropped my website
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So it didn't come through for some reason.
on the chat. Let me see.
Let's see. I don't know why I don't see it. But yeah, so you want like an intake form, and what you want to put on there is, anything that you would want to know about this client, like to see if they're a good fit and to maybe screen a little bit for red flags, like anything. I mean, you could go to the point where you're asking them to upload a prior year tax return there. You could ask them, why are they leaving their previous accountant? And you can even have it like, if they answer certain questions one way, have it automatically email them a rejection email. And like you can get really fancy with it over time. But then what you do, once you have that tool in place, then everywhere, your voicemail, in your notes app on your phone, a templated response on Google, you can fill out some stuff about your business right there, like on your Google business page. All of it needs to point towards that form. So if you'd like to become a client, the first step is to fill out this form. So, and even if it's someone you're talking to, you just say, look, I know we already had a conversation, but this just helps me stay organized. If you don't mind just filling out this form, or you can fill it out for someone if while you're talking to them, but that way you have like one organized list of everyone. I use Cognito forms, but there's Google Forms, there's a million different form softwares, and like Cognito Forms is free if you are on like one of the more basic, if you don't need as many fancy things, but you can have like encrypted things on there so that people can upload sensitive information. You can have a lot of like conditional questions. Like if they answer yes to something, then more questions pop up. Like, do you own a business? Yes or no? And if they say yes, then it will ask more questions, things like that. So like when that woman called you, like don't answer, let it go to voicemail, but your voicemail says, thank you for calling, blah, blah, blah. If you're calling for taxes, the first step is to do this.
That's kind of the thing. So I noticed that CPAs and tax professionals don't have their phone number out there. And I'm noticing that more often, like they're just doing like you book the Calendly links, like more of that. But I feel like that's a missed opportunity to provide better customer
So
service.
you want that to be what sets you apart, like a better customer service.
So
Okay.
right now it's kind of
so
now in between because it's a lot to manage.
I have a solution for you still. Don't worry.
Okay.
So that's cool. That's fine. I think the reason why accountants are not picking up the phone like that is because, like you said, you're in the middle of doing work, and to have to pick up and put down what you're doing. Like, I mean, first of all, you could make an error if you're not concentrating, and like, so you have to come up with like a schedule blocking way of having like, phone time and work time. So your voicemail could say, thank you for calling. Phone calls are, I will, these are my windows for, phone calls, for unscheduled phone calls, and I will call you back at this time. Or you have days of the week. You could pick up the phone and say, thank you so much for calling. Let me get you booked for a certain day, like something just to structure, like, when is it like tax time and when is it talk time? There's got to be a way to kind of, and I mean, of course you could have like someone else answer the phones for you too. I mean, like, if you had like a virtual assistant or something, that you could probably get like someone pretty affordable to just be the one to, if you feel strongly about wanting to be able to answer each call. Yeah.
All right. I think you jogged my brain here. So
okay.
I think I have a solution, something kind of in between, where I could have it redirect people to definitely fill out that form, because that's the next thing. It's like you have them on the phone and then you want to get their info, but then, they probably might ghost you at that point. You know how people are.
Right. Right. So then you collect a bunch of data about them that can help you, I like to take some time to read that and think if I have any ideas for them. And then I take some notes, and then we have the discovery call, and I have like their form in front of me with some notes and ideas and some questions that like came to mind after reading it. And then it's like really organized, and you're going to find that like it's going to be a constant battle of balancing giving good customer service and holding good boundaries. Like, how can those both exist at the same time? They're like opposite things, right? But a lot of the boundaries we hold are so that you can serve them better, and so that you can focus and do a really good quality job, and to have that first call with them be focused for that first call. And like there's a method to the madness. There's a reason why we want to do things in a structured way. But yeah, I do think you definitely keep looking for those like missed opportunities where a lot of tax pros are they've taken on way too many tax returns for way too low of a fee, so they can't give good customer service anymore. They're trying to do 1,000 tax returns in 3 months every year, working 7 days a week, 90 hours a week. And yeah, there's a lot of unhappy clients out there because of that. So you have to charge better prices and work with less clients.
Yeah, I definitely specifically saw that gap where I was like, wow, literally, if you wanted to get somebody on the phone, it's like pulling teeth. So I was like, oh, well, I kind of want to fit in that in between there. But I also see like the double-edged sword of that where it hurts as well.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you just had like the intake form on your website open when you answer the phone and you fill it out with them on the call, like you're the one typing, like at least then you can press submit and have like that saved, and it kind of saves it in a spreadsheet so you could look at it all, or PDF. Like there's a lot of different ways to look at the data, but yeah, or maybe you have like a shorter version that you use like on that first call, like, like, hey, like, let's talk for a second, but really let's carve out another time to talk a little deeper because I'd love to see how I can help you. But yeah, I think you're going to have to block off bigger chunks of your day for customer service, and then have like your work time where you actually do the work be different. And when you get to the point where you're bringing in so much business that you feel like there's no time to actually do the work because you're just so busy like selling the work, that's usually how you know that it's time to start looking at bringing someone else on to help you, whether it be a software tool that can help you, or a person, or a virtual person, or someone offshore. There's a lot of different ways to make that affordable. But yeah, you're doing great.
Appreciate it. A few people are, excuse me, were able to see the site in the chat, so hopefully it'll come through.
I wonder if that's so interesting that it's completely blank on my side. I wonder why.
Can you see anyone talking?
No, I see nothing.
Oh, okay, we're having whole conversations.
Why?
Hey, Ronnie, as a financial planner, I run into your situation a lot. And I've always just been like, hey, I'm in the middle of something. Can I get your name, phone number, and a good time to call you back? And I've never had an issue.
Yeah, I've been doing that, and then like we can't get in contact with the people anymore. So it's like
They just wanted like instant.
Yeah,
like,
but it's funny, like especially this part of the season, it's always you see like they're the procrastinators anyway. You're calling me in June, and I'm like, did you get an extension? They're like, no. So it's already clients that you may not even really want.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they're
what I was
already
going to say. If they're not calling you back at this point, like, hey, they're gone.
Also, there's always time wasters. Like in any industry, there's literally always time wasters. And to me, someone who, like, you know what I mean? Like,
always.
someone who's like, oh, I need to deal with this, but then they don't actually want to deal with it, or like whatever. Like, you can't always blame yourself if you get back to someone expediently and with like good information, and you provide them with quality information and they don't get back to you. Like, sure, maybe it was that like few hours. It sounds like what you're talking about, getting back to people like super fast. But honestly, some people are just like frenetic and they don't know what they want and they're not going to commit, and like it has nothing. You'll probably hear from them 3 months later and they'll be like, hey, can you do it today? And that is not the client that you want.
And they probably aren't calling you back because they're just going down the list and calling each
Yeah.
person, because they want it instant, And I just switched what internet I'm on right now, and now I see all of the messages. So
Gotcha.
yay. And Ronnie, Quo is what I used too. It was called Open Phone at the time, but
I just got Quo, and I'm
that's what I
still
used.
testing it. So I had a AI agent or whatever that they have set up, but like I realized that I had to put the phone menu in because all the spam calls drained my agent's tokens.
Oh,
So that's why the lady was able to get through to me today.
aha.
So like I'm troubleshooting all this stuff with the new technology and like the
Yes.
robocalls. Like it's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That I didn't think about that. And they definitely didn't have that feature when I had Open Phone.
It's new. It just came out. It's decent. There's better AI agents, but I like how Quo's set up, so I kind
Yeah.
of settled for it.
Yeah. I do like their setup a lot. Yeah. And, I wondered, the fact that you can do the texting, that's like one thing. If you want to set yourself apart from other tax pros, like people like texting. Customers like being able to text. Like not everyone wants to talk on the phone, but a lot of accounting firms aren't like set up to do that, or they don't want to do that. But with something like Quo, it's very easy just on your computer screen or phone even to see like who to text and to just text them. So that can set you apart customer service wise too. If you tell clients, hey, you can text me too, like they'll really appreciate that.
That was the mindset. So and
Yeah.
I got everything set up after tax season, go figure, because I finally was able to get somebody to help me like get the Google verification because that was
Yes. That's a
a
whole
pain in the
thing.
butt.
Yeah.
So I'm anticipating like going into next season, hopefully it like picks up.
Yeah, and you probably planted a lot of seeds this year. Like anyone who you did talk to or help is now telling someone else about you. It's like it's very much exponential each year. It's not like linear. It's like it just gets bigger and bigger. And just the more you can go around and tell people what you do, just always letting people know and always planting the seed. You never know when they reach out, but they do. And I see your website, and it looks great.
Thanks. It's optimized for bookkeeping because like that's my main
Yeah.
thing, but that's why I'm here to learn tax. Like literally your same story. It's like
Yeah.
I'm doing that, but then obviously you're missing a whole piece there.
Yes. And that felt like such a missed opportunity. Like, man, if I could just do the other side too, then I could help the full client and, and have the books be ready for the tax return and even understand some of the adjusting entries that I'm supposed to be making a little better because I'll understand the tax side of it and all of that. Yeah. And it's funny because now a lot of tax firms are wishing that they had bookkeeping in-house because they want the monthly reoccurring revenue. So it's awesome that you're doing both. And if you want to add on like a tax planning add-on to your package where you can kind of give them some projections or strategy throughout the year, having access to their financials already because you're already in the books, like gives you everything you need, not everything, but most of what you need to be able to let them know like, hey, this is how much you should pay for your quarterly tax payment, So it's really good to be doing both if you like doing both.
I'm still so I guess raw with the taxes. Like I'm still working on that confidence and like that
Yes.
imposter
Yep.
syndrome, but I'm anticipating hopefully by next year I can get, away from that. But that's what's been good about this because, even working with some of the folks in the apprenticeship, I'm able to like break bread, or like, for
Yes.
instance, like Natalie's more seasoned and more comfortable.
Yeah.
So like I don't feel, well, I'll just, maybe give her a referral or vice versa. So
Yep.
that's what's been good about this is like I
Yes.
don't have to be afraid from the lead. Everybody
Yes.
can kind of eat and help each other.
I took on so much stuff that I had no business taking on because I knew that I had the right community that I could lean on. If I had to pay them like $100 or something, I would. Some of it, I was like, I'm not even going to make any profit off of this year because I'm giving basically all of it to this other person. But next year, I'm going to know exactly what to do, and it's all my money next year. Like I totally did that, and eventually, I found like my people where I had like 3 different people that I could like we had a group chat that we just ask each other tax questions, like all tax season every year. And we felt really comfortable like that. We wouldn't be asking like a dumb question. Like it was a safe place to ask anything. So yes, like part of this being in this apprenticeship, like is find your people that you can forever ask tax questions to, because that I would have not built a successful firm and sold it if I hadn't had my people. It's insane how many questions I had. It was like not good. Like I didn't know what I was doing. Like, but I was good on the customer service side, like you're saying, and I built the relationships. I was good at building relationships, and that's the part that AI we know can't take over. So you build those relationships. You find people to trust you. You earn that trust in them, and your peers and AI will help you figure out the technical side. And once you learn it once, then you have like the notes that you have from the prior year that you can look at. And like these are all new muscles that you're strengthening, but you have to trust that like you will figure it out. It's okay to take on something that you don't know how to do, because you have a network of people and you have AI and you have your books, your study materials. Like we can figure this stuff out.
Definitely.
Yeah. You're smart. You can figure it out. Like it's not about knowing the answer. It's about knowing how to find the answer. I feel strongly about that. And Ronnie, at the beginning, we were talking a little bit about AI and is it maybe not so bad? Like, cause we were all feeling a little discouraged last time.
Right.
And I talked to like a bunch of people on tax Twitter about this, like, give me some advice for my group here, because, we were feeling pretty defeated last time. And everyone said like, no, it's just, you have an immediate promotion. Like you're immediately a senior tax preparer because you have this resource now that like we didn't have before, where you can say, hey, I just said that I would do a partnership. I don't know anything about partnerships. They're super confusing. Explain to me what a partnership is. Like I'm 5. Okay, well, here's the example. When I used to use tax research software, I couldn't, I could read like the theory on the thing that I was wondering about, but I couldn't explain my situation, like of my client. Like now with AI, you can say like, okay, but what if this was the nuanced like issue? And it can give you like the advice for the exact thing that you're trying to figure out. So I think it's just going to fast track your career.
Definitely. I started over the weekend. Like I went on a deep dive through Claude. Like I went through the Anthropic trainings and found someone online that I want to listen to, because you'll drown like listening to everyone.
No.
But there isn't enough information on utilizing Claude for what we're trying to do here. So like that's still, I guess.
Have you looked at Jason's stats at all?
Yeah, I do. Let's look at him, but it's more salesy. Like he'll get into something, but he doesn't dive deep enough, in my opinion.
Okay.
Very surface. Where I'm a guy, like I like to dive into it.
Right.
I like to see use cases. Like he's not Hector Garcia. He dives deep.
Yeah.
Like that channel is golden. But Jason Stat seems more like a surface. Just talking about more like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It's a bigger picture of it instead of
versus like the technical.
Right.
So yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I think maybe that's what a good use of this meeting could be every few weeks when we meet, is like sharing screens and actually doing something and actually walking through something. Would that be helpful?
That's what I was hoping this would turn into, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have time right now. Can you think of anything that we could try right now, like that you are still trying to kind of figure out?
No, but I will.
Okay. Yeah. I think if you could all come next time with, unless someone else has something, with something that you'd like to like see play out, like how would I actually do this? Like how can AI actually help me with like the thing that I have in front of me? We can like walk through it together live. Is anyone else on the call? Can anyone think of something else that they, like a real example that they would want?
I guess I have more of a question. So like with co-work and you have like the skills or whatever that you put into it, like, are you building those skills yourself, or like, did you get those templates from like someone else? Cause what are they called? Like MD files or
Yeah, that's like the Claude file type.
yeah.
So you can do a few different things. One is like Claude already has a bunch of skills saved in there, that like templated ones that you can pull from. You could search on the internet to find some. You could write something of your own and then ask Claude to make it better. Can you make me a skill using, the IRS tax code and this and that, and specifically the Schedule C, section of the tax code or whatever? Can you make me a skill that every time, I do whatever can do? Have you used the projects part of Claude yet?
I'm brand spanking
Brand
new.
new.
So
Okay.
like I went through like a gazillion tutorials, took my notes, but it's on my to-do list this week to like fully set it up because I pay for Chat GPT. So like now it's one of those things where like, am I going to pay for both or is one getting
No,
cut? But it
get
seems
rid
like
of ChatGPT. It'll ask you if you want to transfer your data over. You can do that so that you don't lose anything.
I kind of wanted to start fresh actually. I
I
wanted to
did
see what that
actually. I
perspective.
started fresh
Yeah, I
too.
wanted to see what that perspective would be like because sometimes ChatGPT, I've been on it for a couple of years now, so it's like referencing things that are ideas that are kind of like dead, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And yeah, so when you get in there, there's something. So there's cowork, and cowork is really good at like multitasking and working a little faster because it's going to do a bunch of things at the same time. It can go like to a browser on your Chrome, like on, and go online and look at like actually take over your screen. It can go into your files on your actual computer. It can like, it's literally like another person like doing stuff. And then projects is a place where you can create like a vessel of, these are the file, like a container where Claude can't look outside of the container. So let's say you had, for each bookkeeping client you created a project for them. So you could put like, that you can drag and drop files. So you could put like, last year's financials, this year's financials, whatever, their last year's tax return, whatever you want to put in there, a summary of the business, the business's website, like all those things in the project in the files section. And then you have the instructions section. And that's where you could drop a skill in there, or you could just type something of every time I open a chat in this project, refer to the instructions, and you're only allowed to use the files in here to answer the question, or reference these files before you reference the internet, or whatever rules you want to come up with, and keep asking it for feedback of, can you make this sound better, or this isn't ultimately what I wanted something a little more of this or that. Like keep pushing until you get something that's like really exciting to you. So then like every month when you're doing that client's books, you can go back to just that project and kind of focus on just that information. So that's like a nice way to organize things. Yeah, and we were talking earlier about like maybe ask Claude to build you like a tool that will allow you to like redact personal information, or give you advice on how to redact it if you want to start throwing tax returns in there and stuff like that. And have it, organize work papers, or have it, create a checklist for the client of what tax documents you need. Or even when you're onboarding a new bookkeeping client, there's so many like things you need right away. And the other thing is in the customization area in Claude, you can connect like QuickBooks and like any software you want through the MCP connectors.
that's it, MCP.
Yes, MCP. So basically, like you can just be on Claude and be like, go into QuickBooks, figure out a journal entry for this, go make the journal entry. Tell me how many transactions needs to be categorized for this person. What was this, and you never even have to log into QuickBooks.
Yeah. So with like my bookkeeping clients, I don't know if you're familiar with Veronica Wisnack, I think her last name. She has a pretty big
Sounds
bookkeeping
familiar.
channel. I have a few of her courses. Anyway, like I do paid diagnostic now because
Cool.
people like Bridge was saying
Claude
waste
can do
too much
that for
time.
you.
So yeah,
That's the perfect thing for Claude to do.
yeah.
Either export, the balance sheet and the P&L and give it to Claude or give Claude access to those
That's what I was
books.
doing in Chat GPT, but like now with like co-work and projects, like you're
Yeah.
saying, it could probably do it.
Yeah, and just say, give me a punch list. Like, here's the format I want it in. Make sure you don't forget to look at this and that. Give me all the red flags you see. Give me all the issues. Like whatever diagnostic you had.
I have
either
a rubric,
spreadsheet
if
or
you will, that I can train it on.
yeah, and you can just put those documents in and say, use this as a guideline to develop a beautiful looking diagnostic that I can give to the client that shows, you know, everything that we found in here that, you know, yeah, I would practice that with, you know, you can even take like in QuickBooks, what is it like Craig's Landscaping or something? Is that like
Yeah, the sample company.
Yeah, like pull some stuff out of there and start playing with diagnostics. And cleanups is another thing that like bookkeeping cleanups, either if you're in the middle of tax season, you're trying to do a tax return for someone and their books are a mess, that's a really hard time of year to like pause doing all the tax returns to clean up someone's books. Or if you're just doing monthly bookkeeping work, but like this big cleanup project slows down your progress, like you could dump every bank statement, every credit card statement into Claude in a project or in co-work and say, just give me year to date, give me last year's financials. We don't need a lot of detail. We just need something for a starting point, or, you know, like, and it'll just do it in seconds, you know?
Yeah. I had a cleanup project on the hook, but I guess I was competing with someone, and then of course they undercut me because obviously it's a big ticket item, so it's a lot of room for someone to like slide in there, you know. But that you don't really want to cut yourself too short with that because
No.
it's super time consuming.
Yes, and you never know, like once you get in there, how big of a beast it's going to be. That's why doing that diagnostic is so important because
Right.
you know you don't want to be blindsided and only quoted them $200, and you get in there and it's like,
Exactly. So like not only do I get paid for the time, but it also like it diagnoses the situation and then also gauges the seriousness of the customer.
exactly.
So like
Yep.
it's a good thing that I'm happy to implement.
Yes, there's so many wins with it. Like you make sure you get like a quality client, you know, because you don't want a client who's just looking for literally the cheapest price. Like that's all they want. You want someone who like feels like aligned with you and feels like a good connection, and they like you're building a nice relationship and they trust you. And you know, if for the right person, I'd be happy to pay more. Like, but if someone doesn't care about that and they just want the lowest price, like they'd be a miserable client.
I saw something on Twitter recently that I like copied and saved because I thought it was so funny. And it was like, if you're not losing any of your clients to the lowest price, like, you know, bottom of the barrel priced person, you are the bottom of the barrel priced person.
Yes.
Like,
So
we're not trying to be that out here.
I used to pride myself in that I converted 100% of my like discovery calls. Like I always got the client, and I would come home and tell my husband, got another client today. Like I felt so cool, right? And then I listened to a podcast with this guy Brandon Hall, who's like a really big accountant in like in the tax world. He specializes in real estate. He has a massive company that he's built, and he's like 30. It's like insane. And he said that you should be closing 30% of your discovery call or your, you know, your initial calls, like 30%. And if it's higher than 30%, then your prices are too low. And I remember rolling my eyes at that. Like, well, that's great that you're in that position, but I'm not. I need to get clients in the door. But man, by the end of my career, that became so clear to me that the only reason why I was getting every single client was because my prices were just too low. So maybe you're not comfortable with 30% because you're trying to build a business here, but maybe just 75%, like, you know, whatever you want your number to be, like, it's good if people are saying no. Like if every single person says yes, then you're leaving so much money on the table. It's very
100%.
true. Yes. Okay. We are just about at time. I know we kind of talked about like, you know, more business management kind of stuff as well as AI today, but I hope we kind of feel more optimistic about that. Maybe this will really just fast track our career and help set us apart and just have access to more answers quicker than it hurting and taking our career, because I couldn't find a single person online to tell me, yeah, those people are screwed. They shouldn't even sit for the exam. Nobody said that. So I was very happy to see that. And
Well, since our last call, it seems like the rhetoric is toning down since people are getting booed at commencement speeches and whatnot. I think they're getting that the
yes,
consumer doesn't want to be replaced.
yes, yeah. It's not going to happen. It's an understandable fear, but it's not going to happen. Yeah, we're we're going to build these amazing relationships with our clients, and that's what matters. So homework for all of you is to think of like kind of like actual examples of like real situations that you want me to share my screen and show you, or you share and me tell you how to click around in some of these AI tools to like really set things up so that you can actually use it with your clients. Does that sound good for next time? Like a more hands-on?
When is the next call like this?
Great question. I think it's every 2 weeks. So let's see, the 15th, June 15th, which is when Q2 estimated tax payments are due. Yep, 2 p.m. Eastern on June 15th. So you have 2 weeks to think of some good examples for me, and you can DM me in the community, like if you just want to give me like time to put something together or whatever, you know, like if you think of it sooner than 2 weeks, send it my way sooner. But let's make next time be like really hands-on so that we can like really dig into this. Like, I feel like we've had enough introductions now that we can roll up our sleeves together. Does that sound good?
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And again, please
you.
message me anytime you want. I'll get a notification, and I'm happy to log in and answer whatever you're needing help with.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much for
All
your
right. You guys are doing great. Proud of you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.